Good evening and thank you for joining us. In order to cut expenses, Thunder Bay is looking to eliminate 31 of the 39 outdoor rink sites in the city. If that happens, it would save the city about $300,000 a year.
The plan, though, has prompted some major concern from the local hockey community. Mitchell Ringos has more on the proposed changes and joins us live in the studio. Mitch.
Thanks, Ryan. There is a survey currently available online to gauge public feedback, and so far, the idea to get rid of most of the local boarded rinks this upcoming winter is sparking outrage on social media. The City of Thunder Bay Outdoor Rink Program currently operates 39 outdoor rinks at sites across the city, but that number could soon shrink to just 8, as the city is looking to save $365,000 as part of the 2023 budget process. A public survey opened last week, running until August 27th, and Parks and Open Spaces manager Corey Halverson hopes the public takes part, as they're looking for as much public feedback as possible.
We did a public survey a couple of years ago just to check on the status of the service level of the rinks and to get public input at that time. At that time, the public feedback was very positive on the rinks, so I would expect there'd be some concern from the public about a reduction as large scale as this one.
Halverson says prior to this year's season, 11 outdoor rink sites were identified as being consistently well below target rates for overall usage. Rink users and surrounding residents were given notice that if the number of skaters at each site did not increase, the rink would have its service level reduced. And if this new proposal is accepted, only 8 outdoor rinks would remain.
So it would be North End, Carrick, West End, West Arthur, and Northwood Playfield. And in addition to that, the marina skating pad would remain, as well as the skating trail in Vickers Park and the recently constructed boarded unsupervised rink in Dease Park.
Halverson does say one concern is overcrowding at the remaining rinks, as condensing the number of ice pads will leave fewer options for local skaters. He points out that the survey includes that possibility, and they will take all feedback and information into account. As for when the public can see results of the survey, Halverson says it shouldn't take too long.
There is an end of August report that's going back on the topic of the budget. Our information is going to be getting compiled right around that time, so we'll be following up, I believe, 1 to 2 weeks later. So in September, our information from this survey will be available to council, and decision making would be following that. Even
though the survey is still out, locals on social media have been voicing their concerns, with some very upset the city would choose to reduce the number of local rinks so drastically, saying the city should look elsewhere to save money. But for now, those looking to take part in the survey can find it online at getinvolvedthunderbay.ca. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
OPP and Sioux Lookout have charged a third person in connection with a homicide in that community on August 11th. The first 2 suspects, a 36-year-old man and a 21-year-old woman from Sioux Lookout, were both charged last week with second-degree murder. OPP have now announced the arrest of 26-year-old Kevin Masakiash, also from Sioux Lookout. He's been charged with accessory to murder, carrying a concealed weapon, and making death threats. He appeared in court on Saturday and remains in custody. Police have identified the victim as 40-year-old Adriana Bottle. First responders were called to a former trailer park on Durantes Road, and Bottle was pronounced dead at the scene. OPP haven't provided any further details about the circumstances of her death.
2 local youths have been charged in connection to a weapons incident on Saturday afternoon. Police say a group of youths brandished knives and threatened 2 people on Edward Street. 2 young males, a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old, have been charged. They've been released from custody with future court dates.
A 31-year-old man has been arrested for allegedly assaulting another man with a brick on May Street on Saturday morning and then attacking 3 police officers after his arrest. According to police, the accused and another woman were asked to leave a private residence. The accused is said to have thrown a brick at the victim before fleeing to a nearby homeless encampment. Police identified the man and brought him to the police station. That's where the attack against the officers occurred. The accused remains in custody.
A 33-year-old Thunder Bay man faces a number of drug and weapons charges stemming from a Southside assault yesterday evening. It happened at a Cumming Street residence. The accused was arrested after a brief foot pursuit that ended in the area of Leith and May Streets. He was found to be in possession of weapons as well as cocaine, fentanyl, and other drugs. The man remains in custody.
A Southside youth center is being forced to limit its numbers and implement a membership system due to a recent swell in demand.
The underground gym has been overwhelmed by the increased number of youth using the facility. Lee Noonan has more.
Since it opened nearly 25 years ago, the underground gym has been open to all youth in the city. But founder Peter Panetta says he's now asking families to apply for a limited number of memberships for their kids.
Well, the old policy basically was anyone, anytime, how many, didn't matter, but we got overwhelmed.
Panetta says he's seen more and more kids paying the price as families across the city struggle with poverty.
It's just getting worse and worse and worse. These children come from homes that sometimes they don't even have enough food to feed them. They don't have clothes. It's sad. It's sad. Is it worse? Absolutely, because our system is failing them.
He says the root causes of poverty and addiction need to be addressed. In the meantime, he'll be capping the number of memberships at 75, prioritizing kids from the families facing the greatest need.
So the whole concept of the underground is to try to accommodate the needs of those that cannot access a facility like this. They can't afford to go somewhere.
The new policy will also require parents to volunteer as a way to ensure there's always enough adult supervision. Samantha Prevost isn't fazed by the new requirement. She's been volunteering for years already. She says the underground gym is like a home to her as well as her daughter, but she doesn't know yet whether they'll meet the new membership criteria.
You understand, yeah, for sure. I mean, it's better for the kids, smaller groups, and easier for teaching.
Panetta says not even families with a long history with the gym are guaranteed a spot, something he's not happy about.
I don't like, unfortunately, that I cannot accommodate all children. I wish I could. I mean, ideally, there should be facilities like this all over the city.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The province is expanding the strong mayor powers to 21 additional municipalities, including Thunder Bay.
Premier Doug Ford was in London today to speak at the annual AMO conference. As Siobhan Morris reports, there's also a new reward for communities that hit their new housing targets.
The Premier's trying to give municipalities a financial push to meet their housing goals. Speaking at a meeting of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, Doug Ford unveiled what he calls the Building Faster Fund.
It's a 3-year, $1.2 billion program that will reward municipalities for reaching annual housing targets.
The cash is for infrastructure to support housing, a money stream the province slowed last fall, waiving some fees developers had to pay.
Municipalities that reach 80% of their target each year will become eligible for funding based on their share of overall goal of 1.5 million homes.
With bonuses for towns and cities that go above and beyond. On the same stage Ford sold his plan, the opposition leader tore it down.
This program does not come close to replacing the $1 billion a year in revenue that you are losing permanently.
The government's also extending strong mayor powers to 21 more communities with the aim of getting more housing built. Places like Halton Hills, Bradford, Woodstock, Welland, and Peterborough.
These are communities that already don't have a lot of resources.
This housing policy researcher finds the government's approach a little confusing.
There's going to be a little bit of funding here, but funding taken away here sort of puts municipalities in a position of really still having to struggle to make it work.
The NDP leader called the Auditor General's report about how lands were pulled from the Greenbelt for housing the elephant in the conference room.
Ontarians are witnessing a government that has thrown out integrity, accountability, and transparency.
First Nations chiefs want someone held responsible for a process they say they were left out of.
We ask the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Stephen Clark, either resign or be removed from his title.
Minister Clark addresses AMO delegates tomorrow.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting. Dozens of workers at Ontario's public broadcaster walked off the job in Toronto this morning. The Canadian Media Guild, which represents workers at TVO, says it wasn't able to reach a fair and reasonable agreement with the employer. The union says one of the key sticking points is the use of contracts to fill permanent positions. The company has one employee here in Thunder Bay. TVO hasn't commented on the strike.
A clinical psychologist who's cycling across Canada made a stop in Thunder Bay over the past couple of days. Dr. Alex DiGiacomo is on a journey to raise awareness of youth mental health supports. Her Break the Cycle campaign is meant to raise money, share knowledge, and show families they're not alone. DiGiacomo only picked up cycling 4 months ago, but she's already managed to make it all the way from the West Coast to Thunder Bay in just 29 days. The psychologist's goal is to make it to Halifax in another 3 weeks. The campaign had an initial fundraising goal of $10,000, but after surpassing that, the target is now $50,000. DiGiacomo says it's incredibly important to raise awareness about mental health, as so many youth are unable to access supports.
They really feel like they're the only people with this problem, right? They're the only people that are so anxious that it's hard for them to get to school, or they're so anxious that they have to stay home all the time, and they really feel like they're alone. Unfortunately, the vast majority of kids and parents aren't able to access the care that they need. This is a massive problem, and it's very overwhelming and hard to figure out how to solve it, but I knew I wanted to do something to kind of move in the direction of a solution.
Anyone who wants to support Break the Cycle can visit the campaign's charitable impact page or DiGiacomo's Instagram.
An annual golf fundraiser for Lakehead Public Schools was renamed this year in honor of a well-known community champion. The Bruce Nugent Memorial Golf Tournament took place at Whitewater Golf Course today in support of local students. More than 150 golfers hit the links this afternoon for the 9-hole event. The money raised will go to breakfast programs, awards of excellence, and other initiatives that the board needs funding for. Aidan Nugent is Bruce's son. He tells us what it means to have his father's name attached to an event that he always supported.
He brought me every single year too to be with him and support this event and give back to the community and the foundation, and just give thanks for everything that we've been given by the school board.
Bruce was a real community champion. This was one of his loves was this event, and you know, since his passing, it just seemed appropriate that we rename this in his honor. He did so much for our community, got so much energy for doing such things that we thought it was great to honor him in this way.
Bruce Nugent worked as the communications officer at Lakehead Public Schools for 17 years until his sudden passing in July of 2020.
The 133rd Murillo Fair wrapped up yesterday after another successful year, and the rain-free weekend provided the perfect conditions for the beloved event.
The fairgrounds saw thousands of people come out once again this year to enjoy amusement rides, live entertainment, and celebrate agricultural life. Mitchell Ringos has the story.
This weekend's weather offered a lot of sunshine and warm temperatures for fairgoers out in Murillo, and Sunday was no different. The fair had a variety of activities for people and families to enjoy over the 3 days, from midway rides to livestock contests and food, as well as a ranch rodeo, which was one of the highlights of the weekend.
Here we go. Come on, Cass. Hey, that'll do. No.
Organizers were expecting to see around 15,000 people over the weekend, and Lindsay Kozlowski, vice president of the Oliver Agricultural Society, says the turnout did not disappoint.
We're really grateful for everybody who came to the fair. Numbers are doing great. We are at about 13,000 people so far. So our usual population goal is 15,000, and we've almost reached that, and we're only halfway through the third day.
Kozlowski says along with the rides, food, and entertainment, another important aspect of the Murillo Fair is celebrating agricultural life.
Educating people about agriculture is one of the main goals for the fair, and so we do that by having animal exhibitions, craft and food growing competitions and exhibitions. We do all kinds of horse and ranch related displays. That's where the ranch rodeo and gymkhana come in.
Kozlowski says they are going to take a much-needed week off, but after that, we'll return to start planning for next year's fair.
We go to an Ontario Agriculture Association conference in February where all the fairs in Ontario meet, and we meet all kinds of entertainment that's available in Ontario. We're always trying to reach those goals and have more new and fresh entertainment for our patrons.
Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Well, sticking kind of with that weather theme of it being beautiful out there for a rain-free weekend, couldn't really say the same for today.
Well, it was pretty gray out there for much of the region. We started off with periods of rain for most of the morning and into the afternoon, and then things kind of shifted a little bit. We were under mostly cloudy skies for the last few hours. Started off with a low of 13, warmed up to 22, and a humidex of 24, which seems quite cool compared to temperatures that we have been seeing, but this is actually fairly seasonal for this time of year. Unfortunately, it is starting to cool down, and the days are getting shorter. Winds were from the southwest, pretty light, just 6 to 13 kilometers per hour. If we take a look at the rain that has been moving through, for the most part, it's been staying a little bit closer south, just skirting Thunder Bay in the last few hours. In Kenora, they had some rain and cloud to begin the day, but they too have seen a little bit more sunshine, more than we did this afternoon. They're currently under partly cloudy skies. Temperature-wise, though, they had a low of 13 and a high of 16, so really, now they added an extra degree because of the sunshine, I think, so 17. So not a lot of change in the temperatures. Definitely warming up as you head north into Kenora at 19, 20 in Dryden, 21 in Red Lake, despite being mostly cloudy throughout the day, and they enjoyed a humidex of 24 this afternoon. Little warmer as you head further east into Big Trout, Pickle Lake, Armstrong, all at 23, as is Greenstone, with loads of sunshine. No humidex to report, but when you've got 23 at this time of year, can't really complain too much. A little cooler along the North Shore. Marathon at 18 at this hour, 19 in Sault Ste. Marie, which is their high for the day under mostly cloudy skies. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, well, the rain this afternoon has been skirting just south of us, not really expected to continue that way. It is pushing a little bit further north overnight, so a good chance we'll see a late night shower as we drop down to a low of 14, and that is not the end of the rain. Unfortunately, it's going to be sticking around. I'll have more details on that later on in the news hour.
Okay, thanks a lot, Fiona. Well, of course, some places in this country that could use the rain that we have in store. Of course, British Columbia and the Northwest Territories will have the latest on the wildfires burning there when your Monday News Hour continues right after the break.
We're not expecting any significant explosive growth or anything like that. It is effectively another good day to fight fire.